Hello and welcome back to Autosport International Connect. Well, we've got more sessions coming thick and fast today. It really is your opportunity to get involved, and we're going to start the next session straight away. We've looked into really the future of motorsport when it comes to synthetic fuels, whether it's going to be hybrid, whether it's going to be electric power only, and now we're going to look really at COVID itself and how it's impacted on motorsport. And I've got two guests for you from very different sort of areas within motorsport. So to start with, let's welcome Peter Thul, the Senior Director of Sport at WRC promoter GmbH. Peter, hello, welcome along.
Hello, thank you for being with you.
It's great to have you along, and I'm going to welcome in Rob as well. Rob on the other side. Rob has had a bit of a struggle this morning, shall we say, because of the weather here in the UK being rather blustery. So Rob Kirk, the Motorsport Director at Cosworth Electronics, welcome along as well.
Good morning, Bryn. Great to be here.
Where are you at the moment? Because it's a slightly different surrounding for you.
Yeah, so I'm rather than working from home today, we're able to visit the office within a specific head count. So I've just popped 10 minutes down the road to be in the office just outside of Cambridge.
Lovely. So just outside Cambridge for Rob, and I know, Peter, you're just outside Frankfurt. So we're looking at totally different areas of the world, although be all joined by motorsport, so it's quite nice. I think the first thing we should do really is have a look at both your backgrounds and really what areas of motorsport you're working in. Peter, I mentioned the Senior Director of Sport at WRC promoter GmbH, so clearly working within the World Rally Championships. Give us a bit of an overview of yourself and the championships as well, if you would.
Yeah, I am in motorsports since a long time. I was a former rally co-driver. I had the wonderful experience to do the famous RSC rally with Mitsubishi some decades ago. And I worked on managing positions in several car makers. The last station I had was at Volkswagen, and I had also the pleasure to have the chance to accompany the company into WRC in starting with testing and decision in 2011, then entering in 2013. After 2015, I separated myself from the company in a good shape, and then I joined Volkswagen Skoda Motorsport, working as an agency for the customer program. And since August, I'm at the promoter GmbH, and I take care in my role as a senior manager sport, senior director sport, with the liaison with the FIA, with the teams, with the drivers and the manufacturers.
It's interesting from my point of view, talking to somebody who's working within an area of promotion where you've been in that sport as a co-driver, like you say. So does it give you maybe a certain insight that you wouldn't have, or that other people that work in promotion don't have?
Yeah, if you have done it inside, then you know also the issues you have daily life on a rally, and if you can oversee also the impact changes in the format of the event, regulation and other circumstances have directly to the competition. And as we are talking about strategies and so on, we should not forget the people involved and their special needs and challenges throughout the rally. And this helps a lot, although I must say, when I did the rallying, it's really decades ago, and the sport was totally different now to nowadays. And therefore, I also had to learn a lot having this new position. And it's an interesting thing in motorsport. You can learn every day, and especially COVID teaches us to learn a lot of things in terms of flexibility, responsibility, and so on.
Yeah, COVID-19 certainly has left an impact on many people. When we come to rallying, and when we talk about rallying itself with the service parks, normally a very, very busy area, a lot of people walking across from different cars, different teams to others as well, a lot of conversations going back and forth. And I know that with COVID-19, that almost had to stop, but we'll come to that in just a second. Rob, for yourself then at Cosworth Electronics, can you give us an overview of your career? And Cosworth Electronics, we all know Cosworth as a brand, but I know you have a slightly different angle to your approach.
Yeah, certainly. So I've been with Cosworth for the majority of my career, actually. I've always been in commercial roles. Having had an engineering background, my focus has been predominantly on the commercial side. With regard to Cosworth Electronics, we're now one of three elements to the Cosworth Group. Cosworth, synonymous with powertrain and propulsion, and our headquarters in Northampton. Our electronics base is in Cambridge, and now obviously we've just recently acquired Delta Motorsport to bring that competency and capability into the group's portfolio in the past month or so. In terms of the electronics side, it's control systems, power management displays, software, working with both OEMs and global race series, both not only in motorsport, whilst I work predominantly with motorsport-based customers. Automotive plays a significant part of our business too.
Yeah. Cosworth was founded back in, I think, 1958, when I looked it up the other day, 1958 in London. So it's a company that's been around for a very, very long time. It's also a company that has had to adapt a lot over that period of time as well. And I think for both you, Peter, and Rob as well, when we talk about motorsport, we look at innovation, we look at being able to adapt. And I think when it came to the pandemic, when it first struck back in January, February last year, motorsport was in a really unique position of actually able to adapt because it's so used to doing so. For yourself, Rob, at Cosworth Electronics, what was the direct impact? If we throw our minds back to say, let's go to March, let's go to almost this point last year. What happened in the business? What happened with you? And how did it all change?
So we're very much a trackside and a face-to-face business, and obviously the health and safety and well-being of our employees, but also our customers, was of paramount importance. And immediately there were discussions about how we ensure the safety and well-being of our employees, and working with our customers to understand how we would manage logistically and operationally in terms of continuing our support of any motorsport activity that was continuing. And obviously in the UK here, as we moved through to kind of March, with the lockdown happening, how we were going to ensure that we remained operational and functional whilst still delivering not only just product, but our technical support and integration and development projects with our partners.
I want to kind of almost stage this as not month by month really on a discussion, but phase by phase, because in the UK we know that when lockdown happened, I think many of us thought this might just be a 3 or 4 week thing, hit the reset button and we continue along the way. Peter, for you guys and WRC, 2019 you had 14 rallies, and then last year 2020 I think it was 17 scheduled. You managed to run 7 of those, but 10 then had to fall by the wayside. How did the process work, and at what stage did you think, or did you know that there was going to be a problem that would have to result in rallies being cancelled?
It happened even before I was on board. It was after Mexico. Mexico was shortened, you may have known, because there was the pandemic just started and everybody was afraid not to have the time to return to their home grounds. Then we realized at the very start there was a no-go to do sports outside. It affected football, you remember. Then football restarted without spectators. We had an ongoing discussion with FIA. Formula One paved the way. They had a strict COVID regime working out in cooperation between FIA and the organizers, and we adapted that. If I say we, it's FIA, it's promoter and the event organizer, and not to forget the fans, because then it was about to restart. It happened magnificently with a rally never have been in the calendar before, Rally Estonia, with a limited number of spectators due to the situation. But from us, the challenge from the very first day was being aware that we are the only outdoor sports not behind closed doors. We'll say we have stages outside. They are not like Formula One inside a paddock and a grid, which is covered by fences and gates. So we are open. So we have to guarantee that we are not causing a problem to the country we are visiting. Estonia was on very low numbers when we came. So we had from the very start this COVID regime mentioning having these zones. Journalists, for example, only have interview zones, can go to stages, to the press center, but not to the park family, not to the paddock area, not to service area. On return, I personally love to go to stages. I was not allowed because I was in the service area zone and the organizer. But the good thing is everybody respected that. And on top of that, when it came to events like starting this year in Monte Carlo, without spectators, with a curfew, that means everybody has to be at home at 6 o'clock. And Somebody would have told me 1 year ago, Rally Monte Carlo will be forbidden to spectators and everybody stay at home. I would not think it's possible, but exactly what happened. So, and this makes us also proud that this cooperation between FIA, promoter, the event organizers and the fan in a very disciplined way made it possible that we had a really nice Rally Monte Carlo follow up by the really spectacular Arctic Rally on the same circumstances, and we got exception rules to go there. And if you get an exception rule, you must even behave more responsible. And rallying is a discipline which requires a lot of discipline from all the guys, and following the rules. If you see the paperwork you have done, driver, co-driver, technical regulation, and so on, and it worked very well, and we are kind of proud of that.
I know from first-hand experience, I was lined up purely as a sort of a standby presenter for the Dakar Rally for this year. I know it's not WRC, but lined up as literally to be sitting on my suitcase, sitting on a bag really, ready to go at the drop of a hat in case the production team, the presenter that was already over there for the coverage, got COVID-19, in which case they would have to go into isolation with their crew, and they were going to fly myself and another crew out as a backup. So it created a lot of outside thinking, and really it increased a lot of costs because you have to put teams on standby as opposed to just sending them out there. I'm really interested to know how the conversations went between WRC, the FIA, the fans. Can you give us some sort of unique insight really as to how you went about approaching those conversations and the stumbling blocks maybe that you met along the way?
First of all, it was all about, as you said, conversation. Talk to each other, learning the needs of the organizer. And I have to mention one guy in special living in UK. It's Simon Larkin, who is our event director, who's handling all this together, shoulder on shoulder with FIA. And also we got the manufacturers on board. We turned over the last year, the calendar was really turned upside down to see where can we go, under which conditions can we go. Italy, for example, we had even 2 events. We were in Sardinia, and then the finale was in Rally Monza, behind closed doors, and communication was the key. We talked to them, and also we have a special offer to all the fans who cannot go to stage. It's called WRC Plus All Live. So really, you can see from the very morning up to the evening the whole rally inside with background information. With you are really on the stage, and this helps a lot. We especially learned that in Monte Carlo when I was going to my hotel, and I saw that the guy at the reception looking at and this is an offer to have it more virtually. Although we terribly miss the atmosphere of people on stages. I can remember I was on the famous stage among the fans. This is fantastic, but anyway, at the moment it is as it is. Football has the same problem. They also arrange themselves, and that is our challenge. And again, goodwill and can change a lot, and communication, first of all.
Yeah, I think that's key, isn't it? Like you say, people being able to tune in and get coverage that they maybe wouldn't normally be able to get is a major thing. You talk about the Monza rally last year as a Welsh named person. I'm not Welsh, but as a Welsh named person, I like to forget that one because it didn't go so well for Alfred Evans. But we'll move aside on that one. Rob, when we talk then about conversations, there, Peter saying that it's really important to have conversations when it goes to trying to get over the hurdles really that COVID-19 presented. How did conversations work with you? Because you have quite a wide customer base, both with combustion engines, the electronic side as well. So you have a wide range of customer base across multiple countries as well, same as Peter with WRC.
Yeah, very true. And I completely echo Peter's comments. It's conversation and collaboration and being understanding of each other's restrictions and what you can achieve locally and what you can achieve remotely. I think the creativity and the ingenuity and the use of technologies really come to the fore in how, particularly in our circumstance, as you say, supporting either whether it's a wind tunnel installation or an IndyCar series, supporting them remotely, or with people on the ground and understanding how you manage the circumstances around the track or around the paddock, as Peter was describing, or how you're liaising and working with engineers who are on site trying to deploy a new system upgrade. but you can't physically be there in person, which is something we pride ourselves on, but yeah, wasn't possible under these circumstances.
Did you have to do in many ways like a preemptive strike, thinking, right, we know we're going to have to be at a certain circuit or a certain destination on a certain date, and so you have to work the calendar back and make sure you're getting people there so they can quarantine ahead of time, so you can offer that support? Because I also imagine you've got customers that are paying you for a certain level of support, and although they might be understanding, they've also paid the money for the support which they require.
Yeah, I think planning absolutely critical. Particularly, with an event such as Le Mans, for example, and the quarantine and the time that you have to account as a part of that planning process, and also considering our employees and time away from home and managing risks, etc. Yeah, and the business has to work together. Yes, there are commercial transactions, but the complete marketplace is facing commercial challenges, and it's important to have those open conversations to make sure that we all succeed and get through this current period.
Yeah, I was reading, I think even this morning, that it looked at Haas, the F1 team, and they were talking about them having engineers from Italy not wanting to go over to do even the firing up the engine in the factory because it would require 14 days quarantine, the fire up of the engine in the factory to make sure the engines are running, and then a 14-day quarantine on return to Italy. So that means a 28-day period, a whole month has just gone by where these people cannot actually go about their daily job. And I also know of people who have had to work in America, and to get to America from the UK, they've had to fly to Turkey for 15 days so they can then fly on to the States. So there becomes this whole merry-go-round, doesn't it? Not just one idea of how do you get people to the country, but what do you do upon their return as well? And you talk about health and safety. With COVID-19, that has to be paramount, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's at the forefront. The global travel situation, Daytona at the beginning of this year, I think we were all hopeful that the situation would be better, but that in itself presented lots of logistical and operational challenges. But at the forefront of that absolutely has to be the health and well-being of the people involved in the industry.
Yeah,
I can on this side. Sorry,
yeah,
because it fits very good to your remark. Just to tell you in practice how it was for me personally to go to Finland to Arctic Rally. We should not forget we got a special permission from the government. No foreigners were allowed to enter the country. So something very clear by rules. So I did a pre-COVID PCR test. And then I went to the airport in Berlin to do 2 hours before the flight again an antigen test, because I had to transfer via Amsterdam because I had no other flight connection from Amsterdam to Finland. In Finland, on arrival, again an antigen test. Then right after the rally, we're flying back and again a PCR test. But this is what it takes at the moment. We are not complaining. You should also not forget there is a huge financial impact because these tests are currently not super cheap. I don't know how is it UK. But if you add on to our staff and everything, this is something which is normally not in the budget. But as I said, we are privileged that we can run our events, and so we have to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my tests were £175 per test, and I had to have one every 3 days while I was sitting at home on my suitcase before I didn't go to Dakar. So somebody had to soak those costs up. I think it came to something stupid like £1,300 just in those fit to fly tests that I took, and didn't get to go to Dakar. So it does, I think, highlight that expense has to be soaked up somewhere. And I think when we talk about expense having to be soaked up by someone like the employer, for example, so for yourselves at WRC, for you, Rob, with Cosworth, that's money that you've got to recoup somewhere. And it's really hard to recoup that money if there are no fans, if there is the customer base has suddenly shrunk back a little bit. So how do you, as a promoter, I think, Peter, how do you go about that all of a sudden the market has changed, but the costs have probably gone up?
Yeah, for sure. We look what we can save. You mean also regarding staff, we had much more remote than before, and to be honest, we see our involvement in the long term. So now we are facing a difficult period. There's nothing to complain or to you cannot change it. So that means you have to work with it. Nevertheless, we did a lot of efforts on the virtual side, as I told you already. WRC Plus, our live We have a lot in other things, in gaming and so on, and we try to compensate. Nevertheless, we should also not forget the organizers, the event organizers who also contributed. So everybody at the moment is contributing to something, is investing, because we want to keep it running. We should never forget we are talking about a microcosmos. It's not only us, it's not only the event organizer, it's the teams, the mechanics, the freelancer. The big factory teams not only have full-time employees who create money even if they do not work, but a lot of them are freelancer and they have zero. And so we are also responsible to keep this business running under serious conditions, being responsible and so on. But at least we have to make it. And this is therefore we have the approach also on this year. We are committed to 12 events. And we learned a lot from last year, and we feel well prepared. You never know what will happen. Nobody has a crystal ball, but what we all should have is at least an optimistic approach. We love what we do, and we should really not try to get into depressive mode, because this helps nobody.
Yeah, I guess it's about mitigating the impact that COVID-19 is having on the business, on the fans, on every single part of every single business that's part of it. Hospitality, there's the media, there's everything, like you say. Rob, when it comes to mitigating the impact, then if we stick with that idea with COVID-19, how do you mitigate the impact it has on all the different people you work with? Is it individual conversations? Is it individual methods, or is it a blanket approach to each and every one?
I think every market and every customer, whilst we all face the same challenge, the individual circumstances are different. Different levels of governmental support depending on your location. I think no series has been exempt from furloughing staff, but important that with that support, to Peter's point, we have to think about everybody, full-time employees, contractors, and how we keep the business alive. It's worked out well for Cosworth so far, and it's great to see WRC continuing to go from strength to strength as we get through this situation. To your point, it certainly is individual conversations, and it's being flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple of questions coming in from people watching right now, and if you do want to get your question in, you can use the chat box and get in touch. Let us know where you're from and put the question to the panel. I will go to the questions probably more at the end of this session, so just to let you know really how it's going to run. So we've covered off, I think, a fair bit really about motorsport and how both areas, whether it's Cosworth Electronics or whether it's WRC, have looked at the impact of COVID along the way. If we stick with WRC for a second, Peter, and when we look at this year, 2021, it's still so uncertain. Here in the UK, we know the 29th of March, we got motorsport in the UK, it's going to be up and running, or that's when it's going to start. When we go to different countries around the world, everyone's got different implications of what COVID-19 has upon them. So how are you looking at your calendar? You say you've got a 12 race or a 12 rally calendar, sorry.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to remove any of those from the calendar, do you? So you've got a really unique challenge to try to keep this going.
Yeah, but this was done in the spirit of creating the basis that we can run it. And as I said, Simon Larkin together with FIA, they established a calendar which has the first half year no overseas, because we have now countries and event organizers, and the very important word my boss Jonas Siebel likes so much is commitment. So we have event organizers who are committed. ACM Monte Carlo running the rally without spectators, done in a fantastic way. Arctic Rally Finland, done by the organizer of Rally Finland in a perfect way without spectators, done. Rally Croatia up to come, and it will be in April. There are two concepts. They can do it without spectators. They're hoping for spectators. It will happen. Rally Portugal, Carlos Barbosa, who is also in a responsible role in FIA, told us he wants to go with spectators, but he's committed to do it without. And then we have Italy. Italy already did it last year, so I would say let's do the first 5 will absolutely work. And then we have Safari Rally Kenya at the moment, totally safe, not totally safe, but looks quite good. People has been there. You never know what will happen by this time. As I said, nobody has a crystal ball, but also committed organizer to have this legendary Rally Reborn. We will do it if everything is safe and clean. Then Estonia, we did last year. Finland, same organizer as Arctic, also very loyal. But I will not now count all the countries, but we also have some very good events who are willing to jump in. So yes, our commitment and our idea is to have the 12. And I cannot tell you whether we don't have cancellations because nobody knows what's going to happen. But we feel well prepared with this format of calendar, not having overseas the first half and then having committed organizers and aware of all the individual situations. Even in Germany, I cannot tell you what will happen in the next week. You know, we have lockdown from after lockdown. Sometimes you are allowed in some cities to go shopping, in others upon appointment, on others not. So, but anyway, we feel prepared, and we are also optimistic that we can do that. What we are planning.
I guess that's when nations' involvement and having it as an international series, you have different nations involved in the rallies themselves, and that gives you perhaps a bit of a head start along the way. Rob, if we touch upon a couple of projects that you've been a part of, one of them in particular is actually the wind tunnel upgrade that you deployed in Japan remotely. How did you approach that, being in the UK, and how was it different from the normal method that you would do it?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we're very much a face-to-face business, and Japan's a wonderful country. The opportunity to visit is always fantastic, and our engineers really pride themselves on being on site, in situ, ensuring that the deployment goes as smoothly as possible. I think in terms of the preparation, you make it such that you are there. All of the preparation of the equipment that needed to be sent out, you kind of simulate what you're going to do on site and make it as plug and play as possible, really. And then with the technologies that we have, all of the different communications and remote networking technologies, really it was almost as if we were there. The ability for the customer to plug in the hardware and install the software, and for us to literally be there in a virtual way, meant that it all passed off successfully. I think it does, the point of the conversation about the future, it does lend itself to questioning, from a cost perspective and an environmental impact, and understanding the necessity of travel and the costs involved, and how we can better prepare and plan and support customers remotely in the future.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, isn't it? A lot of office-based businesses I know are now looking maybe at changing their complete policy, not having people working from home 5 days a week, because I don't think that is really the way people work to their very, very best, but maybe making it more flexible, 2 days in the office, 3 from home, 3 from the office, 3 from home, 2 from the office, or whatever else, whichever way it happens to be. When we look at WRC then, Peter, and the lessons that you've learnt, say, in the last 8 months or so, and the way that it's gone forward, have there been any aspects really that you think have been really positive and that you will now move on with heading into, say, 2022, 2023, 2024, etc.?
Let's say if there's a crisis and you have a common understanding and you have committed partners, there's always a way. We had a difficult situation in the middle of the year when really nobody did know, middle of the year last year, nobody know where it will go. And then we started to intense our communication. I'll give another example. I have the chance when I'm driving from my home base in Wolfsburg to Munich. I have a coffee sometimes at Hyundai, which is based in Alzenau in Germany. And I learned also their situation because they are under German laws. And what makes me really happy to see that all their employees were kept and paid and everything. This shows the commitment of the whole group, of the whole company to that. Toyota made it similar in Finland, and we have Malcolm Wilson M Sport in UK, and also he is like a family business running in a super professional way associated with Ford. And they all have the attitude to do so. And I think this is also for me personally a very positive signal back to see how committed they are to their company, to their willingness to compete and to keep their people on board. And this is something which is not in all kind of industry the case, but in motorsport, especially in this small community we are, it's a very encouraging signal. And this I take as a very, very positive aspect. But there's one thing I would like to mention also as well, because it's not only about events and about doing the rallies and traveling. We should not forget we have now in the WRC and in the WRX, World Rallycross, which we are the new appointed promoter, a fundamental change in powertrains. WRC will face the plug-in hybrid starting in 2022. On the World RX, we are working together with FIA on the full electrification starting in 2022. And in between is COVID. And we have supply chain, we have to get the parts. And I think my colleague from Cosworth can say the same thing. You're chasing the supply and this, and then you have some boxes from China not due to be arrived and do not arrive. And the global world has, in this case, a slight disadvantage that sometimes you're waiting for things to move on. So for sure, this is also impacting our business. And you have to be also very tolerant on your planning facing this. And especially we learned now we are doing the testing will start soon in the WRC with the new components for the plug-in. And I know that everybody is fighting like hell to make it happen. But I am confident because of the nature of rally is about improvisation and doing things which seems not to be possible, that we will have in Monte Carlo the new cars on the starting grid.
It almost seems like COVID-19, as horrific as it's been as a global pandemic and the impact it's had, out of it there has been a lot of positives in the way that people have been forced to work together in ways that they maybe hadn't, or it did force a reset button, didn't it, to be pushed. And it means that relationships that were a bit distanced have been forced closer, even though we are more distanced from each other because we can't have face-to-face conversations. Peter, is this something that for WRC and for you that has been a notable positive?
As I said, notable positive is that we got some nice experience about the attitude of people in times of crisis. And also that maybe we will have after the crisis a lot of more efficiency because you can really do some meetings virtually now. But to be honest, I terribly miss the traveling. I'm also, when I'm having holidays, I love to go to Asia due to family reasons. And I really miss that. But I think once we can do it again, maybe under different circumstances, we will really much more appreciate that. It has been a habit in the past, and we did this, oh, you have a meeting there, you just drive or fly there, and you have a meeting for 1 hour, you go back to the office, and sometimes you can really question whether this was efficient or not. But it will be, let's say, the new normal will not be the same like before, I'm sure. And it's not all negative. Anyway, we cannot change anything. COVID happens, that's it, we have to take it. But we should not see everything negative, although I deeply regret the impacts on the health of the people, on the casualties and everything. I don't really want to tell you that I like the situation, but let's say we have to face it. We have no other choice, and there will be some aspects we can learn from it, and maybe afterwards everything is even better on this behavior we have in our business.
A lot of times adversity does bring positive things, should we say, along the way. Rob, for yourselves, Cosworth Electronics and Cosworth as an overall sort of overarching company, what positives can you draw upon? I mean, as we were saying just there, really meetings, conversations, probably getting closer to the people you've been having conversations with in the past. Is it those aspects that you identify, or is it that the fact that you've learnt lessons and you're maybe more appreciative of what you had?
Well, I completely echo Peter's sentiments, the positive certainly. I think it has brought not only, I think it's brought the Cosworth businesses closer together, and I think it's brought us much closer together with our customers. I think yes, maybe we did take the hour-long flights and the overnight stays for granted, perhaps. You know, I too enjoy the travel and miss it, and I think I very much look forward to getting back to that, but will think twice about the necessity of those trips. But I think video conferencing's become the norm. I think it was popular, but I think the face-to-face is it's no longer just an audio phone call. It's face-to-face just brings so much more to the conversation.
I think slurping on a hotel beer at 10 o'clock at night is never going to taste as good. We're all going to be so appreciative. If I have a look at some of the questions that have come in then, I'm aware of time. Unfortunately, we've only got 6 minutes on this session. It's one of these that time just flies by. But I'm going to go to these questions. A question from Ryan. He says here, it's currently looking for new opportunities following a recent redundancy due to COVID itself. Sorry about that, Ryan. Sorry to hear that. It says, do you have any tips for staying positive and motivated in his ongoing search in spite of the uncertainty surrounding the current situation. Can you suggest some ways maybe to help him get involved in the industry given the financial difficulties? Maybe this one is best for you, Rob, I think, really. So people that are looking at a job, they've lost their job and they're looking at jobs thinking, well, is there any point in even applying, and how am I going to go about doing it, considering everybody is now, if they've got a job, they're fighting tooth and nail to keep it?
I think speaking personally, or speaking for the business, we have a number of vacancies. The future is bright. I think, yes, it's a challenging time right now, but evidenced by series such as the WRC, the BTCC, all these series that are coming back online and going to be racing very soon. We've come through a really, really challenging period, but there is opportunity out there. I'd say keep your head up and keep knocking on those doors. Be persistent. The opportunity is definitely out there for you. And yeah, by all means, get on the Cosworth website and have a look. I don't know what your capabilities and your specialities are, but we have vacancies. Take a look and yeah, go for it. It's the future's bright.
Yeah, there was a conversation actually yesterday here on ASI Connect about finding new talent, and they're all saying that if you are a talent, then you can find opportunities. It might not even be that your talent is necessarily a motorsport related talent, but motorsport covers every single aspect that you could possibly imagine, and it's finding how you can get it into that particular niche. So Ryan, good luck to you. Thank you very much there, Rob, for that. Question from Thomas said, did customer racing become a thing in WRC as well? In road racing, we saw that Audi, BMW, Mercedes focus a lot on customer racing because of COVID and the new EU restrictions. So I guess this one's best for you, Peter. Did you find customer racing? It's a tricky one with rallying, isn't it, and customer racing?
No, it's not. It's not. There is a new development which is done by FIA. It's called the Rally Pyramid, and we have now a sustainable chain. You can start and enter with a front-wheel driven car, which is nearly a standard saloon car, up to the WRC. And we have junior championships everywhere. We are much focused on the supporting categories WRC2, WRC3 at the moment, which are private teams. And we have the junior WRC, which is running with the Ford Fiestas from M Sport Poland prepared. So we have always been focused on that, on customer racing, on teams, and also some manufacturers involved. I can quote, for example, Citroën Competition has customer teams, Hyundai has them, Ford for sure, and Skoda Motorsport as well. And we are trying to support them as much as we can. We are intensivating that. So this is a rock solid basis we need also for our top category. And if you have a field of, let's say, top 15 WRC, more or less, depending on the rally, and privateers have a clear focus, and that means customer sports is very important to us.
I was wondering whether, if Thomas is meaning more, do you find that the manufacturers were less involved with customers as opposed to their factory output, really? But I guess you need customers to make the money, and therefore you have to keep the focus equal for both. Paul from Cranfield University says, or asks, as a motorsport engineering student, I'm constantly told to go to tracks. Is an age-old one, isn't it? Go to tracks and engage with teams for experienced opportunities, but COVID has made this impossible. How long do you think it will be until this kind of networking is possible again? And what alternatives can you suggest to secure an internship at a racing team? Let's go first to Rob on this one.
Did you say Cranfield?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Yes. Yeah, ex-Cranfield student. So good luck with your studies. Yeah, who knows what's around the corner? I think we've got some milestones set out in front of us. So at least we've got some lines in the sand that we can aim for. In the meantime, it's virtual meetings, it's telephone calls, it's understanding that from an engineering background, there's lots that you can achieve, and you can achieve remotely, and a lot of work you can deliver, whether it's simulation, data analysis, modeling. This can all be achieved remotely. So if you've got a particular skill set, identify those technical managers, technical directors that you aspire to be in the future, in the longer term of your career, and go out there and knock on doors.
Absolutely. And what about yourself, Peter? I know we're really short on time, but is there a way, do you think, or when do you think, say, service parks are going to be fully open for people to walk in and start handshaking and networking? Crystal ball, please have a look into that ball.
Middle of the year, but it's just, again, we're coming to the crystal ball. Depending on the vaccination situation in whole Europe, depending on the third wave. I think third wave, I stopped counting of the coronavirus with all these mutations. But let's say August, September. But I hope it's earlier, but something like this.
Perfect. Look, gents, thank you very much for your time, both to Peter Thul and to Rob Kirk. It's been, well, it's a whistle-stop tour, really, of COVID-19, the impact it's had. But thank you very much for your time in Frankfurt, Peter. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
And on the edge of Cambridge, thank you very much to Rob as well.
Thanks very much. Great to be here.
Great stuff. Thank you very much there to our panel. Really, really insightful as always. Now, we're going to continue these sessions thick and fast on ASI Connect, but we're going to take a little break for you to start networking and getting a look around on the app and on the desktop too. But what is on the way? Well, you can see 11:45, around 4 minutes time actually. Chris Aylett is going to be here, the CEO at MIA. And he's talking about the overview and update, really, on the world-leading business community that is Motorsport Valley. So we're going to find out all about that. Then at 12:30, we have Lindsay Orridge. She's the founder of Driven by Diversity. She's talking about diversity in motorsport. Then we have a bit of a lunch break for you, and we are back at 2:15 with James Allen. He's talking about the future of Formula One. So that's all on its way. We're going to take a brief pause, but we'll be back here in just a few minutes.